All right, Jeff, let's get going here. We are so excited to get a few minutes with former Eagle, broadcaster, radio personality. The man has more titles and more shows than I can even mention in the intro, or we out of time. Mike Golic, thank you so much for giving us a little time today on the show.
Oh, no problem. Always love talking to Philly.
All right, so that's where we want to start. Before we get to the cause, we want to ask you, it's playoff time. It's been a crazy last weekend, and you played in one of the craziest games of all, the Fog Bowl. What was it like?
The Fog Bowl? I mean, it was like what you saw or didn't see. You couldn't see. I think one of the wildest things about that game was they didn't want to postpone it. They didn't want to send everybody home and come back another day. So I remember at one point the referee turned on his mic so he could talk to the booth, and he was standing in the middle of the field, and he said, "I can still see both goalposts." And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking side to side. I'm going, what goalposts are you talking about? I said, you can barely see 10, 15 yards, but they just didn't want to cancel that game. So, unfortunately for us, the team that was winning when the fog rolled in was probably going to be the team that won, and it was the Bears that were winning at that time, and that's how it turned out to be.
Was there actually a point where you couldn't see the guy that you needed to tackle?
Not, if it was like a sweep or you would kind of lose them. And on pass plays, now I'm just rushing the passer, right? And if the ball gets thrown, I see it get thrown and I turn, but the ball's going like into the mist. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's happening. So it was one of the more wild experiences I've ever been a part of, as we all thought it was smoke rolling in, that there was a fire somewhere, but obviously it turned out to be fog and just sat there on the field.
Even with some of the snow that we've had in the playoffs this year, we've at least had a little better weather they can see. But you've been, up close and personal, whether you were calling the game, the Bengals Raiders, I got to hear that. 3 of the last 4 games last weekend decided on field goal. Last one, 25 points in the last 2 minutes. What's your thoughts about the playoffs so far?
Well, I mean, the fortunate thing is we got to see great football. Every game ended on a last play. As you mentioned, 3 field goals and then a touchdown pass in overtime. And I fear now that we get let down this weekend, right? You're down to 2 games, and you can only hope they're going to be as good, but that could be wishful thinking that you're going to get that many good games. But I hope they are. I mean, they're 2 good matchups, obviously, with the Rams and with San Francisco. And Cincinnati, that surprise team right now, they beat Kansas City a few weeks ago. Now they're going to Kansas City here, so we'll see. But what a great young team Cincinnati has.
As an Ohio story, that has to be a fun story for you to watch. But your season won't end. Is it true? I saw you never actually stayed for the Super Bowl, but this year you're going to be there to cover it on the sideline?
Yeah, I've been to 23 of them doing shows, and I always left on Saturday, and I watched it from the couch on Sunday because I didn't want to be there. I was jealous of the players that were there, so I didn't want to sit there and watch it. But this is now I'm going to my first one because I'm working for it, for Westwood One. I'll be working the sidelines for this game. So not only do I get to go to the game, I get to work it and be right down on the sidelines for the game. Maybe more importantly, on the sidelines for the great halftime show. I can't wait for that one, too.
One of the teams that may be in the Super Bowl this year has an incredible defensive line, but I don't think it could stack up against the defensive line that you played for back with the Eagles. What was it like to play on that defensive line with that group of defensive players? I
mean, it was incredible to be part of that. Now, again, I was maybe a little above average. These were great players: Reggie White, Clyde Simmons, Jerome Brown on the D line, Mike Pitts. God rest a couple others. So Mike Pitts and Jerome Brown and Reggie all gone already. I mean, it's so sad, but. I mean, watching them play and practice and work out and do all the things they do, they were just freak athletes, and they showed it on the field. And it was before free agency, right before free agency. So, we became all really, really good friends. It was a great time. I loved my time in Philly.
You're somebody who's played in lots of places, traveled to broadcast lots of places. We always hear people talk nationally about the Philadelphia fan base, but you bring up that defensive line and the passion brings a smile to my face still to this day, 20 plus years later. Can you talk about the passion of the Philly fans?
Oh my gosh, they're known for that. They live on that, and sometimes it goes overboard. We know that, but God, I love them. I mean, they're very passionate. even if you lose, if they see you, it's a blue-collar town, man. If you're out there busting your butt for them, they're going to love you. Now, they want to win. They want to win as well, and they'll let you know about it, and that's fine. But it does get a little crazy. I've been asked sometimes on a Wednesday or Thursday if I'm at the grocery store why I'm not watching film. And I'm like, I do have a life, as well, in between games. But I love them. They are very passionate. They will love you. You just got to play hard for them. And, unfortunately, there's been a guy on the 76ers are trying to get rid of him, Ben Simmons, who, that kind of hasn't worked that well there.
Oh, we'll get to your friend Kate Scott in a minute who gets to watch that. But I wanted to ask you one more Eagles from that era question. You began your media career during those days, appearing on the Randall Cunningham show I saw. Tell us about that, and tell us about playing with Randall, who was that ultimate weapon.
Yeah, it was called Golic's Got It. It was kind of a humorous look at the next week's opponent that won like a local Emmy. Right time, right place, that kind of situation. And listen, we see all the quarterbacks that run now and do amazing things. Well, Randall was doing that way back when. I mean, he was like Gumby out there. I mean, when you hit him, he just twisted or contorted certain ways and kept going, punted as well. I mean, he was an incredible athlete with an incredible arm that we thought really in 91 that was going to be our year, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, well, you just mentioned one of our basketball players. Well, at least the guy who's supposedly on the team. You work with Kate Scott. What's been like working with Kate Scott, who's now announcing our Sixers games?
Kate's phenomenal. I worked with her in college football. Very energetic, very good at what she does. Philly is going to, and I know they're already taken to her, and they're going to love her, and hopefully for a long time, because she is a star and is continuing to be a star on the rise.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about her, of things that we don't know.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, wow. She likes, she digs her drinks every now and then, and she's really getting into the Philly cheesesteaks and the local fare there. So, but yeah, she digs her drinks too. So that's something. Buy her a drink; she'll be very happy for it with you.
Well, you'll have to give her some advice on where to get the best cheesesteak. But for you, as somebody who's out there advocating to raise awareness about type 2 diabetes, people got to make a plan of what they're going to eat. So fitting that cheesesteak in may not always work. Tell us about your game plan when it comes to diabetes and what you're doing to raise awareness for people who may not know what they're going through.
Well, listen, there's about 34 million people living with diabetes in the U.S. Put that in sports terms, it's about 485 football stadiums full of people. It's a lot of people. I was diagnosed about 17 years ago with type 2, and, it was like, okay, I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I do everything around sports, so it was all about a game plan and a playbook. My doctor, became my coach, and I had to figure out what was going to work for me. I think that's the biggest thing, is everybody of those 34 million I talked about have to think about what's going to work for them. So that was one of the biggest takeaways. It's not just one thing works for everybody else. So I really wanted to get involved as I was finding out what worked for me. I was excited to interview other professional athletes, Kyle Love in football, and John Kruk, used to play with the Phillies there, about their journeys. And everybody has that different journey, and I was doing that as part of the Talking Type U campaign from LifeScan and the One Touch brand. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned, is you have to find out the program that works for you.
What's it like for you to hear about other people's journeys? Jeff and I talk regularly about how we need to normalize some of these health and mental health issues in sports and other things, other health challenges. Here you are with other athletes talking about an issue that, again, isn't regularly discussed, because sports is about toughness and pushing through.
Well, it is. And even the thing about talking to the athletes, you realize that their journeys are different, and it goes into the real world. That's why, I love speaking about type 2 diabetes to everybody, whether they're athletes or not, because everybody has that individual journey and how they're going to deal with it. So, everybody has a story, and my story was I wanted to be very open about it with my family, my wife and my kids. And, I wanted to be open about it to the public because I had the podium to do it, about how people should go about it with their doctors and doing their thing and getting in touch with now what I do is I've embraced modern technology is what I've done, that this older guy, but it's worked, through One Touch Solutions. They have like a one-stop shop. You can get customized programs from Noom, Fitbit, which I wear all the time, Cecilia Health, and Well-Doc. These are, so my numbers, when I use my one-touch glucose meter, I have my numbers, and they can go into these different programs, and I get great feedback, whether it's from, putting in information and getting feedback from that, whether it's chatting with a live, health specialist about things that I need. I get great things to know about diet, about exercise, and it all is, like I said, this one-stop shop. So I have embraced the today's world and the technology of today's world, and it's been working great.
All right. Well, every once in a while, you do have to cheat. If you're going to cheat, what's it going to be?
Oh, I do. Listen, there's no doubt that I do. And it has been with a cheesesteak occasionally or the occasional donut. That has happened. But what I've learned is I eat way better now, 85 to 90 good and maybe 10 bad. So that's been a big difference for me. And with all these programs, I'm able to monitor all that, and you find out what part of the day you're doing better at and things that maybe you need to change. So that's why I think so much of this helps, and listening to these interviews that I did will help. At talkingtypeu.com, you can check out those interviews. There's actually a sweepstakes there as well, where you can win some excellent health-related prizes like gym equipment. So you can win stuff as well as learning about what other people are going through on their diabetes journey.
Well, we look forward to following your journey and their journey. Good on you for using your platform to raise awareness and help people follow along. Thanks so much for the time, and we hope we get to talk to you again. We loved following you as a player, as a media person, and now this. So thanks, man.
Sounds good. Always, like I said, I always love talking Philly sports.
It's a blast. Thank you.